told me, hey, you're fucking crazy. Don't hire these people. What are you doing? Go for established performers. Don't grow that quickly. I couldn't recruit people that are very successful because I didn't have a story to tell them. I didn't have people that I have taken on board and made them superstars. We don't have a heartbeat, meaning that no one knows who we are. They know me, but they don't know the business. How are we going to develop that heartbeat?
The biggest key to your success, what do you believe it is?
In real estate, I think it's just...
Avi Khan, mate, welcome to the Top 1% podcast. CEO of the AKG Group, Avi Khan Group, one of the biggest, obviously, Ray Wyatt franchise. You own 5 of the offices, principal of the year as well for the whole bloody country.
They call me a telephone terrorist. If you call 100 people a day, you're bound to find a couple of people that are selling.
Scaling to the 5 offices plus the property management division. How did you do that?
One of the major learnings that we had from our study tours is that
the size of the team, the amount of businesses that you've got, what do you do when big fires pop up?
For me, it's like...
What do you think is the number one character trait of the top 1% business owners that you had dealings with?
The best business leaders realize that...
Avi Khan, mate, welcome to the Top 1% podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for quite a while, man. I'm going to give you a quick little run through of the rap sheet because I literally have wanted to have this conversation with you for a little while, whether it was on Scouting Australia or on this podcast, because, man, I've admired you from a distance for quite a while. We've known each other for a few years now as well, but as we were kind of talking about off air, man, I was mentioned to you, many, many years ago about your ability of developing young talent and man, serial entrepreneur as well. So I'm super, super excited to dive into today's episode, man.
Mate, I'm great to be here, and obviously I've admired your work as well for a long time, and now you've got multiple businesses, cars, everything going. So I don't even know how many houses you own. So I should be interviewing you. But,
mate, you were disappointed when the Lambo wasn't out the front this morning, but
I was like, "Where's the Lambo?" That's what I came for.
That's it. We'll have to go check it out after. But mate, to have a quick run through, man, of the rap sheet, dude. CEO of the AKG Group, Avi Khan Group, one of the biggest, obviously, Ray Wyatt franchise, ownership, man. You own 5 of the offices as well. Serial entrepreneur, like I said before, law firm. Multiple different things too. And one of the other really cool things, mate, which I was super excited to see you win this. I was next to your table at the Real Estate Business Awards, man, the principal of the year as well for the whole bloody country. So, mate, massive congratulations,
Thank you.
man.
Appreciate that.
No, absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure. Like I said, mate, absolute pleasure to be here recording with you, man. And I'm super curious, like winning that award, how did that feel? Because obviously, again, we discussed offline the fact of, the maiden, like not picking them up, sitting there every year, not picking them up, and you're just like, is it worthwhile? Mate, you got the trophy. How did it feel?
Mate, it was, I actually didn't expect it. To be honest, like I had so many finalists in that category that people I've looked up to in like last 3, 4, 5 years. Because I'm relatively new. I'm 7 years in as a principal. That's new in our industry, right? Like there's people doing it 10, 15, 20 years. So I had a lot of, my peers and people that are kind of mentors from afar. So it meant a lot to me. And I think it was a recognition of not me as such, but in the last 2, 3 years, we've really changed our business. There's like a deep leadership bench in my business now. So they're driving things without me being there. So that was like, I think I kind of felt like it was me collecting on part of everyone else. So that felt really special.
That's cool, man.
And mate, I had 10 of my team there as well. So it was a good night, and it's good to be recognized.
100%, man. No, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. Yeah, we went crazy for you when we were next year.
Thank you.
As well,
I appreciate that.
There was a lot of, man, I swear yours was probably like the biggest cheer because there's multiple people. Yeah. Matt, I think you're a very liked bloke in the industry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Man, it was really, really cool. Man, I'm curious, before we dive into everything as well, what I'd love to know is what do you, if you were to pinpoint one thing in terms of success, because to kind of recap on one thing you just said there, you started in 2018. So like you said, you're relatively new to it, realistically. And is this your first office or started in real estate 2018?
So my first job in real estate was around 2015.
Okay.
So I was an agent for about 2 years and 3 months before I opened an office.
Okay. Yeah. And in 7 years, you've opened 5 offices.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. And sold one in the process.
And sold one as well. Yeah. And you haven't really opened anything in the recent times, right? That was in the last...
No, I haven't opened anything probably maybe 2 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in a 5-year window, you opened 5 offices or 6 offices and
that
sold
was a
one.
bit crazy, yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What do you think's been the biggest, I just want to ask this question before we jump into everything else.
Yeah.
But the biggest key to your success, what do you believe it is?
In real estate, I think like it's just, I'd never had the fear of talking to people.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, and not just real estate, and probably your industry as well, and the brokering and finance industry, everyone's just trying to hide behind the desk, like people are too scared to talk to people. Like, mate, when I first started, I probably can't say this term, but I'll say it anyway. They call me a telephone terrorist. Like, I just never got off the phones. It's as simple as that.
Blowing the phones up.
Yeah, mate. Like, I don't know. Like, people are like, oh my God, I can't do 30 calls today. I'm like, mate, I'm on 120. It's like 2 p.m.,
Holy
like,
shit. Yeah, right.
If you call 100 people a day, you're bound to find a couple of people that are selling.
It's a law of averages, right?
Yeah, it's a law of averages. So if you break it down as simple as that, like, and I'm big on calls in my business, like obviously there's 2 people you call and they're selling. They're not selling straight away, but they're selling sometime, right? So at any given moment, the stats is 1 to 3% of Australians are in real estate mode. So all we're trying to do is to find that 1 to 3% of people. It's not as hard as what people make it out to be.
So 100 phone calls, you're going to get 1 to 3 opportunities out of that.
Mate, I guarantee you there's 3 people there that are selling at least in 6 months' time.
That's hectic.
So that my success was I just never put the phone down. And everything else I just learned along the way.
Yeah.
I think people just overcomplicate things. So that's what I still do now.
And so in business, so obviously that was the biggest success, factor that you had as an agent yourself. And then in terms of business, what do you think was the biggest? Because they're very different beasts, right?
Yeah, they're very different. And it's not just being a principal, it's being a leader.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of agents that should never be leaders and should never be principals.
For sure.
I think when I opened the doors on the first day, at least the first 4 or 5 days, there's like 10 people walk through the door. And I was shocked. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I've got like 20, 30K in expenses from nowhere. How the hell am I supposed to do this, right? So you kind of figure out how to be a leader on the go. I sort of had this thing that when I opened my business, I couldn't recruit people that are very successful because I didn't have a story to tell them. I didn't have people that I have taken on board and made them superstars. I didn't have those stories.
You didn't have the runs on the board as a business owner.
I had it as an agent in a way, but I didn't have it as a business owner.
Yeah.
So I set about trying to create superstars in my team. Okay. And in doing that, I had to take a back step in my own selling career. And mate, there was moments there I didn't have money. Like I don't know how to pay the bills the next week because your sales drop, right? And you've gone through it as in the BA world.
Of course.
When you take a step back and like, okay, my actual salary will drop. So there's some confronting moments with yourself. But then I set about just saying, okay, I'm going to recruit anyone I can, anyone with a good attitude, and try to create great real estate agents out of them. So that's where I started.
Interesting. Yeah. I love that, man. And it's funny too, because even the opportunity that you looked for compared to other people I've spoken to in the same sort of space as well, you're going for the guys with the good attitude, you know what I mean? That you can probably obviously mold into what you are wanting to create and shape as an agent. Were you looking for things that you had additionally, like as an agent yourself, or just looking for literally that raw product with the great attitude that you could mold? Yeah,
look, there's a little bit of characteristics. I call them sponges, right? Okay. Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to do the work? You know, if we get someone who's willing to learn and willing to work, those are the 2 things that tick off straight away. Yep. You know, I didn't like the people that came in and said, "Oh, but I used to do it this way." I'm like, then why are you there? Why are you here? Why don't you just go back there? You know. So I was trying to figure out how I can stop hiring those people. Yep. I just wanted to hire the people that wanted to learn and wanted to work. Yep. And it worked out really well. I think like I had like 6 or 7 new agents that probably only sold 2-3 properties in their careers. These are the people that started with me. And everyone told me, hey, you're fucking crazy. Don't hire these people. What are you doing? Go for established performers. Don't grow that quickly. But you just have to back yourself. Like you have to back yourself. You have to take a risk.
I love that, man. I love that. And if I look at that on the flip side in terms of how I've done things, just to steal the mic for a second on my things, it's funny, man, because I tried to go down that avenue as well of hiring other people that had runs on the board or they came from a real estate background or anything like that. Man, I actually found that didn't work because of the way that we operated and the way that we actually source property and buy property. I wanted a raw product, almost like a metal that hadn't already been shaped in any way at all. It had to have certain characteristics that I thought I could mold. And I think this is the biggest thing you said there in terms of a sponge. Quite simply, right? It's coachable. Someone that's coachable and will 100%. Take on the feedback and take on the trainings and the learnings and take it on like a sponge and absorb everything, right? Yeah. And man, I find the best guys, 100%, but guys and girls obviously come from that you can mold and shape into the correct thing and want to be molded and shaped.
Want to be molded. I think you have the inner belief, right? Is if a buyer calls you, you'll be like, hand on heart, I'm going to get you the best deal, right? And I'm the same when a seller calls me, like hand on heart, I'm going to get you the premium price.
Yep.
You have to back yourself as a business owner as well and saying, you know what, this is the best place for you because I'm going to train you, I'm going to help you, I'm going to give you leads, I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to go with you. So I had this moment like, okay, I have to back myself now because otherwise there's no point, right? So that's what we do as leaders, and it worked out for me in the first 12 months at least.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mate, we'll get to your first 12 months in business in a little bit. I'm actually super excited. I kind of want to keep running with it, but man, what I always like to do at the very start, I like to go all the way back to the start because I always find it so interesting to hear someone's backstory, where they came from, how they started. And the really, really cool thing about this is I actually know absolutely nothing about your backstory. I know like tiny little bits of it, but mate, I don't know where you came from. Obviously your lineage and whatever is obviously not direct Australian. So I'd even love, like, were you born in Australia?
No, so I was born in Fiji.
Fiji, okay.
Yeah, so I lived there for about 12 years.
Yep.
And then my family, we moved to New Zealand.
Okay.
Because it was the easy thing to do. Fiji to New Zealand was like the thing that Fiji Indians do.
Yeah.
And then the next step from there is Australia.
Okay.
So it wasn't planned, but I did all my schooling in Australia. I did my university. I did all my schooling in New Zealand. I did my university in New Zealand.
Okay.
And New Zealand is a lovely place, but it's after a while it feels a bit like a fishbowl existence. Like you've been everywhere, you've seen everything.
Okay. It's a small country, right?
It's a small country. It's a beautiful country, and I go back once a year. But then I wanted to do something different. Australia was like, I just wanted to travel a little bit. And from New Zealand, travel plans are going to Australia. From Australia, it's like go to Asia, go to Europe and stuff. But New Zealand, it's like go to Australia.
Because it's so big, right?
Yeah. So I finished uni and I was obsessed with intellectual property law.
Okay.
So I had a role in Auckland ready to go.
Intellectual property law.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's what I was obsessed with. I was like, I like this stuff. I like new inventions. I like copyrights. I like trademarks. I like patents. This is what I want to get into. So I had a job, and I think it was like one of the top 3 firms there. And I said, I'm going to go to Australia for 3 months, just December, January, February, come back in end of Feb, start there. I came to Australia and I didn't want to go back. It was really good.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to find roles because all the law firms have already hired. Yep. The process of law firms, they hire 6 months before the job starts.
Okay.
So I started in a company called GE Finance.
Okay.
I was doing settlements. So that's where I started in Australia.
Is that like GE Money?
GE Money now. I think they call it GE Money.
Okay.
They used to call it GE Finance.
Okay. So how long ago was this? So you moved from Fiji to New Zealand at 12.
Yeah.
And then you came to Australia.
I came to Australia in about 2000 and I think it was about 2008, 2009.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And I did that for a bit and
Yep.
I was trying to get into a legal job at the same time.
Okay.
And I was really blessed to start in the Queensland government.
All right.
Because it's the best place to start because no one does anything. I shouldn't say that. No disrespect to Queensland government employees. But at that time, like everyone was like happy, right? You turn up to work, there's 2 cartons of milk, there's 3 newspapers. You open the stationery cupboard, you got everything you can think of, man. Like you got these back rub machines. You got,
what?
Yeah, mate.
I want to go work in Queensland government.
You got footrests and everything. I'm like, where am I? But it was really good because the project I was working on, they were trying to modernize planning laws. So they used to call it the Integrated Planning Act, and they're trying to make a thing called the Sustainable Planning Act. So it's all about sustainability, koala layers, like how are we going to protect koalas, how are we going to protect our development. So I got into that and I did that for about 2-3 years. And there was a company that was automating that decision-making. It's called Oracle. So that project came along and they're like, do you want to work for us in different states, different cities? So I did that for about 4.5 years before I got into real estate.
Okay. Mate, if we go back one step even from that as well, what did your parents do?
My dad owned laundries. So he owned commercial laundries. So Fiji's
like Queen Laundries.
Sorry?
Like Queen Laundries?
Oh, no. So Fiji's a very how it's touristy, right?
Yeah.
So there's laundries that service hotels and cruise ships and stuff.
Interesting.
So that's what they did.
So they go dump off a big trolley of bloody linen and stuff, or like multiple trolleys, like a train of them. Yeah. And he washes all that and then brings it back.
Washes all that, brings it back. So this towel is 2 cents a towel. This sheet is 3 cents a sheet. Okay. So there's stuff like that.
So that was his business?
So he was a business guy.
How many of those did he have?
I think he had about 2. Okay. He might have had 3 at one stage. Yep. So about 2 of them in Fiji, yeah.
Okay. And how many employees? If you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious.
This is going way back.
Yeah,
probably about 20 to 30, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, Fiji employees are cheap, so you have a lot.
Of course.
Yeah, so
cheap labor.
He was very entrepreneurial in that stage.
Okay.
In that stage, yeah.
Yeah. And so did you, obviously you went with, if you were 12, you went from Fiji to New Zealand with your parents. What did your mum do as well? She work in the laundry business?
No, my mum didn't work.
Okay.
No.
Okay. She raised you guys.
Yeah, she raised us.
Only child, multiple children?
No, I've got 2 sisters.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
they'll appreciate the shout out. They never get one.
Older or younger?
No, one's older, one's younger.
Okay,
and
so
now
you're in the middle.
They both work in my business now.
No way.
Yeah, so they both lead different functions.
Okay.
So one of my sisters is my CFO.
Yep.
And the other one leads the brokerage arm.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were going to say the other one does the laundry.
No, she should.
Okay, so she runs the brokerage arm.
Yeah. So
and what did the first one do?
So my elder sister, she's my CFO.
Okay.
So she runs all my companies.
Yep.
So she's head of accounts, head of finance, forecasting, planning, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her background?
So she was a CFO. She worked in Flight Centre.
Okay.
So after COVID, she came across to me.
She was a CFO at Flight Centre.
She was assistant CFO, second level. I can't remember exactly her title.
But a fair way up.
Yeah.
Shit. And the brokerage sister?
So she used to be a broker at Commonwealth Bank.
Okay.
So they both had those fields.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I need to grow these things. Can you come across? And they did.
Interesting.
And it's just been really good since they have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So did your parents push you guys when you went to New Zealand, went to school, went into uni, pushed you into, say, finance and law and stuff like that? Like gentle push
so
sort of thing?
my parents wanted me to go uni.
Yep.
And it was a gentle push. I was always wanted to go anyway.
Okay.
Ever since I was young, I wanted to do law.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something that I wanted to do and accomplish. And when I swapped careers, it felt a bit odd.
Yeah.
The only reason I swapped, I was traveling a lot.
Okay.
And I had my first kid and I was like, you know what? Like I need to spend some time at home.
Yeah.
So I was calling around saying, oh my God, like real estate looks really good. I was buying and selling a few properties at a time. And I called this lady in Browns Plains, and hopefully she doesn't get mad at me for saying this. But I said, like, well, I'm looking for a job. She's like, oh, what do you know about Browns Plains? I'm like, I've never actually been to Browns Plains.
No
before.
way.
So I'm like, oh, it's in the middle of it's middle of everywhere. It's got acreage, it's got units, it's got townhouses, it's got like developments going on. I love that area. And she goes, have you ever been here? I'm like, I was Googling it, right? There's a baby bunting there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I go to that baby bunting all the time. She's like, oh, come on in, have a chat. Mate, when I first started, it was like a really competitive office. There was about 9 or 10 business owners in there. And
you're talking about LJ Hooker Browns Plains. I know you're talking about.
You bought a few properties from there, didn't you? I mean, you bought properties everywhere. But yeah, I was just determined to beat them because they've been there. They're ingrained in the company. Yep. They were really good at what they did. But I was like, how do I beat these guys?
You know what's funny as well? They are like a business they're all the oldies. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's like all the oldies are all in that office. All the old heads that have been there forever. And then if I look at it in comparison to your business, you're like the young one comes through that recruits all the young prodigies and grows them up and stuff as well, right?
Yeah. So I think the grounding was great because the fundamentals of real estate they taught me so well. So all I did was like change the other stuff, like how to prospect, like bring in marketing, like bring in flyers, bring in good letters, bring in like social media and video and stuff, which none of them were doing.
They didn't want to touch it.
But they were so good at real estate, but they forgot the other aspect of real estate, which is like how to find clients. You know, people just don't use yellow pages to find people anymore. That you actually have to be, door knocking, cold calling was like, it's really good, but you need the other layers in business. So
stacking the deck, right?
100%.
Stacking the deck for the win.
You got to saturate the marketplace with everything, not just calls and knocks. So I think they lost their way a bit in that regard. So I just came in and said, look, this is what I want to do. And mate, my thing was like, it wasn't my idea. I was learning from everyone else around me. So that was really good. Yeah.
So did you go straight from there? So you started with that office out there in Browns Plains. You started there in 2015?
Yeah.
Did you go straight from there to start your own office?
No, I worked at LG Hooker for about a year and 2 months, and then I worked in another Ray White.
Yeah.
And when I was at that Ray White, the Ray White CEO came along and said, hey, I've got an opportunity for you. I'm like, oh, where is it? He's like, Marsden. He's like, isn't it the area you do? I'm like, yeah, it is what I do. And he's like, do you want to open it? I'm like, oh, look, I really want to open a business because I think they knew that I wanted my own office.
Yes.
But at the moment I can't. I had some issues. I was going through a divorce at the time. And he goes, well, if you want it, you can open it in 3 months. I'm like, what, 3 months? Is that all I have? He's like, yeah. So we ended up opening it in 3 months.
Okay.
It was crazy times, mate. Like, yeah.
Now, how do you go from a year and 2 months and then a year with the other office? Yeah. How do you go from that to then them tapping you on the shoulder going, hey, mate, do you want this? Were you just killing it as an agent in Marsden, or were you not banging down the door trying to get the opportunity?
Yeah, no, I was doing well as an agent. I wouldn't say I was killing it because it's hard to kill it in 2 years.
Yeah.
But at that stage, like if you're making 40, 50 sales a year, that's crazy good at that stage.
Yeah, 100%.
Now the marker is 150 sales makes you a superstar, right? Before it's like 50, 60 sales, everyone starts noticing
Game
what
change,
you're doing.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So because there's so many more agents back then as well. And there's so many agents that have been in the market for 20, 30 years. So yeah, I was doing well, and they said, "Hey, we recognize you have leadership. Let's do it." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And yeah, that's what happened.
How was that received between obviously the Browns Plains? So
Yeah,
I know the Ray White you were working at.
yeah.
One side of Logan, Browns Plains almost on the other, and then you go on competition smack bang in the middle.
Yeah,
How was that received?
Look, I think I lost a few friends because I opened a business. But you know what? Like, if they don't want to be friends with you because you're opening a business, so be it.
Yeah.
You know, like I did my own thing. I think I did it differently as well.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do the way they did business, which they didn't understand. I said to my staff, I don't have haters. I have confused admirers. They want to be us, but they don't know how to. And I'm not saying coming from a place of ego. It says we wanted to do business a different way.
Yeah.
So when we opened, I said to my team, we don't have a heartbeat, meaning that no one knows who we are. Like they know me, but they don't know the business.
Yeah.
How are we going to develop that heartbeat? And social media was going crazy back then. That was when everyone was trying to recognize people were posting on Facebook, right? Instagram wasn't as big.
Yeah.
So mate, every listing was like 4 or 5 posts.
Yeah, really?
Coming soon. I'm knocking on the street. Come see this. So we were trying to really leverage social media back then when no one else was.
Yeah.
The other thing was like realestate.com came up with a premium listing.
Okay.
So premium puts you above, highlight, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
The older owners didn't want to pay premium because they wanted to fight REA.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, why are you going to fight them? They've got the eyeballs.
Yeah.
So I made it compulsory for all my team to get the higher package.
Yeah, right.
So all of a sudden, if we had 10 listings, they had 30, it looked like we were dominating the market. So it was like
interesting.
Yeah. So we looked at different ways to do things, and we still do that to this day. Like, how can we be better? We don't want to be hunted.
Yeah.
But
How often are you, and like how, so it sounds like that was extremely important in those initial years of growth. How often and how often are you looking for those things you can constantly be that little bit sharper on the sword? You know what I mean? Like that's like constantly sharpening the sword.
Yeah, no, every day. So we've got
for the edge, right?
Yeah, we've got people in the business. So one of the things that we do really well, and I say my team, we do a lot of study tours everywhere.
Okay.
So study tours allows us to understand, okay, why is this business doing well? Because
what's a study tour?
So study tours, you take 5 of your best people, or 5 of your best agents, or 5 of your best property managers, and you call, say we went to, for example, a study tour I did in Auckland with the best Harcourt's office. Now this guy, he's the king of community marketing.
Of what, sorry?
Community marketing.
Okay.
Like he'll do a fun run.
Yeah.
And he'll be the minor sponsor. But at 4 a.m., he'll take all the staff and just crowd the streets with their flags, with their logos, with their pylons and everything. And at the end of the race, it looks like he's the major sponsor.
Yeah, right.
So we want to go and learn from these guys, right? I went to an office in Canberra. They've got a head of customer service.
Yep.
So anytime, say, your BA lost business, the head of customer service will call their client, hey, what happened? Like you were talking to one of my agents, you didn't end up going with us. Is there anything you can do for their feedback? We want to improve. I just want to get back to him and say, hey, you could have done this better. So we're implementing all these things. Like that's customer service-wise, it's community-wise. At the same time, now we've got a head of innovation in our business.
Yep.
What are we doing with AI? We've got a head of marketing. We've got a head of media. Like what are we doing with these things? Like we were probably the first office in Brisbane to have a head of data. So what are we doing with our data? Is it just going to sit there? How's it ingrained in the systems, in our daily lives? So none of these ideas are from me. It's from all the things that we've been learning from everyone else.
So you've learned from these other, what do you call it? A study tour.
A study tour.
So you learn it from a study tour, and then you've picked it apart as much as you can, and then you look to implement it within your own business.
Yeah. What can we implement? What can we afford to implement? Who's going to be driving it in the business? It can't be all just me.
Yeah.
Like because my team are 10 times better at executing than I am.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy saying, let's just do this.
Pulling the strings, right?
Yeah. Let's just do this, and they'll tell me, okay, this is the way we should do it.
Yeah.
So
CEO of 5 offices, man. You can't be pulling the strings. You can't be in the trenches of every single thing.
It will break down.
Yeah,
it will break down.
And ultimately, they're going to get the best result by you pulling the strings properly at the top, which is going to support and benefit everyone, rather than needing to be in the trenches doing this little bit of this or that or whatever. Obviously, if you can refine everything along as you go.
Yeah, mate, 100%.
You need other great people in there.
They've got more skills than I have in their role. We want to make sure. So we call ourselves. We say we're not a real estate business. We're a business of specialists.
Okay.
So every leader in the team is a specialized role of what they're good at.
Yeah.
And then we can teach them real estate as they go. That's where we can teach them real estate.
Interesting.
But we can't teach them the specialist skills that they bring in.
Yeah.
So that's the way we look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I like that, man. When you go and do these study tours, what do you think the trigger is that makes you decide whether you implement something?
I think is it what benefit will it bring to our staff? Is it going to cost us? And do we have the people to implement it?
Okay.
And the key thing that most businesses miss is that if you implement it, can we carry it across? Like, do we have the budget for it?
Yeah.
Do we have the people for it to carry it across?
Yeah.
Because people come and say, okay, I'm doing this. And then they do it. And then 2 weeks later, it's gone.
Yeah.
So can we actually make it happen in our business? And, you know, I hear this thing all the time. And sometimes people do study tours ours. That won't work with us.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, but why? Like, think outside the box, you know, like anything's possible.
Can I ask you on that? Why would you, this is full curiosity, unless it's like reciprocal of you letting someone come into your business because you go into theirs, why would you let anyone into your business and see what you do?
I think if you're good at your job, you shouldn't be scared of teaching others.
Okay.
It's a show of strength and it's a show of saying to your team that we want to grow with everyone else.
Okay.
Because if you come into my business, I'm showing you something, I'm kind of remembering, okay, oh shit, I haven't done this for a while. And they'll actually critique what you're showing as well. They'll say, oh, wow, why did you do that? Why can't you do it this way? Or this is what we do. You actually get better by presenting to others.
Interesting.
That's why we do a lot of conferences. I don't mind, like I'm speaking at a Remax event, I'm speaking at a Rise event in Sydney. I don't mind sharing because it actually makes you better. And, you know, the ones that don't share, they're just sitting there in their cocoon and they don't get better.
No, they're going like the LJs, right? Like
Yes.
Well, I mean, like not to shit on anyone, but they're stuck in the past. They didn't implement and improve, and they could have brought someone young, head of innovation, like you've done into your business 10 years ago. They could have done that, and they might have kept with the times a bit more, right? Instead of
100%.
Like it's just going to wean off more and more the influence that they had 10, 20 years ago in the marketplace.
Yeah, mate, think of it this way: like the business I was in, if you said I want to do this, I want to do that. The question that came back was, who's going to pay for it? My business is if you come up with something, and my question to them is, how are we going to pay for it? So the subtle change makes a huge difference. You know, who's going to pay for it means we can't do it. How are you going to pay for it means how can we make it happen? I love this. You know, like it's going to cost us 10K, 20K. How are we going to make it happen? Like where do we want to make cuts? Is it going to bring income in if we do this? So the difference is like, you know, how are we going to do this?
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned earlier about AI as well, and I've been seeing so much about AI, obviously being implemented and spoken about, and you know the ability of it potentially, to an extent, I think it will take a long time before it goes anywhere near replacing agents, but obviously having a big impact on the real estate agency sector. How much are you? Obviously, you got someone ahead of it, right? So you're looking to implement it pretty. Like, how aggressively are you looking to bring into the business, and how much do you think it could potentially impact?
I think, look at it this way. I've sort of looked at it in the same way as virtual administrators or virtual assistants that we went through probably the craze 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in my headspace is
It's replacing that VA component.
A lot of people brought in VAs, and what they did, the VAs kind of took away the client interaction from the people that needed the client interaction.
Yep.
So the same thing with the AI is like, how can AI help us enable more client interactions? So how can AI help us getting face-to-face more? How can AI help us streamlining our process so we're talking to our clients more? If you're using AI to replace the client interaction, then you're screwing it up. Okay. So that's our sort of criteria is like, are we freeing our people up to speak to people more? Are we freeing our people up to make them more efficient, more productive? But yeah, and then AI is actually the best thing we're doing with AI in our business is using it to analyze our data better. So my PM and I, so funny story, I'll tell you this one. Okay. We ran through
Here we go.
the REB Awards, right?
Yeah.
So Rachel Curtis, who's my CEO, PM CEO, property management CEO, who's our best property manager? Who are we going to put up for this? So we had this thing, okay, there's a lady called Mars. I think she's our best PM. That's us looking at the stats, just gauging everything. She's our best PM at the moment. Let's put her up. Obviously, she didn't win, but she was up. We love her recognition. But then we came back and we did this thing as a function called Claude, AI with Claude. We put in all our PM stats, maintenance, rent arrears, lost listings, you know, like time to reply to emails, everything else. Now we've got 52 property management staff, part-time and full-time.
Yep. That's a big team, man. That's
team.
across 5 offices.
Across 5 offices. Okay. That system told us that Mars was the best property manager.
Interesting.
So that's what we're using it for. Like sometimes we know, but sometimes you'll never know.
Did you already know and it confirmed it, or it was the one that spat out the data?
We knew it in our sort of like in our it's intuition that like, you know, she gets back to people on time and everything else. Like we didn't analyze the data as much. We just knew like we felt she was.
Yep.
But then it came back and told us who's the best PM.
Yeah, right.
The next thing it did was tell us who's our best callers are. And it blew my mind. So you can have your best caller who's just calling cold data.
Yep.
You can see who's the best. And then it tells us who's actually the most efficient caller.
Yep.
Who calls at what times, who's getting the most appraisals, who's got the best connection rates. So all these things it started to tell us, and we can, as management, make better decisions now. Not saying that we didn't make good decisions, it's just our decision making improved.
Yeah.
And mate, sometimes like I can look at this, I'm like, okay, I could have figured that out myself, but it would take me 2-3 hours. I just put it in 2-3 minutes. So we're using it to make better decisions.
Yeah.
There's so much data from your business that you can plug in, put projects, put rules, and it just, you know, it's becoming like an AI chat. But that's how we're using it. Anything that replaces client interactions, I don't want to touch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's what makes us what we are.
Yeah.
Is it going to enable more relationships? Yes, use it.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a disabler for relationships? No, we don't want to use it.
Okay.
So
that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing the insight on it as well. I'm finding it interesting because so many people, I wasn't even planning on going into it until you mentioned it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just intrigued in terms of, because you've got such a large business, right? And this is obviously, this is just the 5 offices of the AKG, let alone all the other businesses. Yeah. But then obviously you got all your sales agent, everything comes with that side. But then like you said, you got 52 people involved in the PM team as well across 5 offices. There's a lot of variables, a lot of team, and then a lot of data to crunch off the back of it as well. So it's intriguing, man, to see how someone of the size of your business is sort of utilizing it as well. So I like that, man. I like that. Man, so much of this stuff we've spoken about so far, and I've always sort of got this from you. You're a very, I'll probably say like calculated individual. I mean, you can tell that you're wise, like you're smart, you're an intelligent person, right? You can't build what you've built though without having a great work ethic from that side as well. How much does work ethic come into what you do, what you've done to build what you've built, but then also what you've created, even in terms of other people, and how important that is in terms of what they bring to the table as well with employees?
Look, I look at that quote all the time, you know, because people post it on Instagram and it kind of annoys me. Like, what's that? One? There's something about hustle beats talent if talent doesn't hustle.
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't you have both?
Yeah.
Like, this is such a stupid quote.
But that's the hybrid. The hybrid is having both.
Yeah, you should have both. Like everyone's got talent in some way, shape, or form, right? So, mate, I decided the best way I'm going to beat everyone in my business when I was at Alger Hooker was I was going to outwork them because they knew more than me. They were there. They were better agents than me. I can hand on heart say that when I started.
Yeah.
I was letterboxing at 6 a.m. in the morning before I got to work, right? And then I had the printer running till about midnight. But I was
go letterbox up again the next morning.
Come back. I was letterboxing till 2 a.m. that morning. So they were trying to find out who was using the ink. Because back then you couldn't track it. Where did the paper go? Who's doing the postage? I'm like, it's me. Like,
who's taking this home?
Yeah,
what project's being done?
I was starting to make the money, so they didn't care at one stage. But like you can outwork anyone. Like if someone's got more knowledge than you, doesn't matter because they're not getting in front of people. You get in front of people. That was my thing. Like I think the hardworking bit. Like I always say in my business, like someone said to me, "You're so busy." I'm like, "Mate, if you need something done, give it to the busiest person you know." Like you've got 7 or 8 jobs. I'm like, "Yeah, but I work 18-hour days." Like how many hours do you think an average person 8-hour day? They're probably being productive for 5 hours, if that.
Yeah.
Like they're just there to have fun, socialize, and that's not my business. Like you can make most of your time and do so much more.
Yeah.
So I think outworking people, it's just. Mate, it goes without saying, you know. But then the other thing, mate, the other aspect of this is like when we talk about AI and data analyzing it, one of the things I've always done, I've always trusted my gut. Whatever's in front of you, you got to trust your gut instincts. So build your gut instincts by being around successful people.
Do you think did that come from like either not trusting your gut and having bad results off the back of it in different passes, or have you always had that?
Oh, no, I think I've always had that. But I think when you're out on your own, because real estate is a lonely job.
Yes.
It can be very lonely.
100%.
So when it's lonely, you've got to trust your gut more. Otherwise, you're going to go wrong. You're going to sit there and just analyze everything that you've done, everything you've done wrong. Like when you lose a listing or you lose a client, some people will sit there for 3-4 hours crying about it. I'm like, mate, move on. Like there's so much out there, you know. So the trusting your gut instinct, I think that's led to so many good things for me. Sometimes you get it wrong, man. Like it's just business. Don't be afraid of getting it wrong. Yeah,
100%. Where do you reckon? Like, who did anyone say to you when you were starting out, especially at that first office? Did anyone say to you around the fact that you just had to outwork everyone else to get the result, or you just knew it?
Yeah, look, I kind of knew, but I think you need people to say that to you. So I was very lucky to sit next to a guy called Bob, who's. He was on his way out. He was retiring. He had a really great career.
Such an old Aussie name.
Yeah, Bob.
Such an old Aussie bloke.
Yeah. So he said to me, listen here, you young something or other. I can't repeat it because it was a racist slur, but it was a fun one. He's like, you teach me computers, I'll teach you real estate.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, computers. I don't know what you mean by that, but let's do it, So mate, like every time I was going to a listing, he'll go out, have a smoke. I'll have secondhand smoke all over me. I'll practice and he'll tell me what to say and I'll go out. And then he used to just tell me, mate, just keep going, just outwork people. Like you should be here till 8 o'clock at night. Like you should want it. If you show people you want it, they're going to give you more. So it's just, I think in real estate, when people see the hunger, the hustle, they reward you. If they don't see the hunger, the hustle, doesn't matter what you know.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to reward you. So
man, that work ethic piece you're talking about there is so important, and like showing it. It's fun. I can remember I heard something. This was literally only a couple of weeks ago, and it was this thing where people they wake up at first thing in the morning. They might commute to work for an hour to work, and then they work for 8 hours, 9 hours a day, and they drive home. They might have 2 hours and they go to bed, right? So 8 hours most people sleep for 8 hours, right? So a third of your life you're dead anyway. You're gone, right? And then the other 3-4 hours you're either commuting or you got a couple of hours chilling at home. And then you got 8 to 10 hours a day at work. If you're just pissing it away, like how quickly are your 20s and your 30s just going to be gone with no result? It was like you were saying before, people there for 8 hour day may be productive for 4 to 5 hours. If you're fully productive for that 8, like why aren't you? Like
why aren't you?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's sitting on there doom scrolling on Instagram is not going to get you any result, but going and hustling or putting the work in or having an agreement with old mate Bob, in the office, it's going to show you how to do this thing. Like find Bob in the office of where you work that's going to give you that result. And I think, man, it's such a great point because and I get this even in our business when I see the young guys coming through, or young guys and girls, and sometimes I've got the girls in admin that are just absolutely outperforming, and then they ask for it, or an opportunity opens up and they go, have you thought about that? Because they've shown the drive and the work ethic. But if there's 6 of them there or 5 of them there and they're not putting in the work, the same work, and there's one that is, we know who's going to get the offer, right?
Yeah, it's
going to be a no-brainer. And you have to position yourself for when those opportunities drop. Like it's not just going to be like, oh, well, one day they're going to tell you, whoever's performing and working hard and showing that they deserve it. That's where the opportunities are going to come, right?
No, 100%. Totally agree with you, man. And it seems like a simplistic thing to do and say, but it's not now.
It's not common, man.
It's not.
It's not common.
Yeah.
That work ethic piece, it's one of the funniest things, man, that you wouldn't think you would have to, drive people to work harder, especially in sales and stuff where your income is a direct correlation to how hard you work and how much you put in from that end. But it doesn't mean that people will work harder. They're always looking for the easy option, right?
Mate, it is. I remember this. I had someone in my team a couple of years ago. She doesn't work for me anymore, and I won't name her, but she was like, I'm so busy. I'm like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to your desk tomorrow, start fresh. Every 15 minutes, write a line of what you did the last 15 minutes. She's like, oh, okay. She never came back to me saying she's busy. Never came back to me because that's what we did in law firms, right? And that's our thing. We have to bill every 15 minutes. Some people bill every 5 minutes. Like it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
So I was used to just saying what I've done every 15 minutes.
Interesting.
But when they write it down, it's just that complaint is gone.
Yeah, because they're proving that they're not doing enough, right?
No, they're not. Because like you said, half an hour's on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
And that's the type of business I don't want to have. I don't want to be on top of my people.
Yeah.
I want them to be empowered to go do that. I'm not a man manager. I don't want to say, what have you done last hour, 2 hours? Once you start doing that as a leader, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Man, one little thing that I think listeners could take a lot of value from, and that is ridiculous, right? Like that's such a great point that people can implement. And one of the other things, that's specifically for anyone struggling with productivity, one of the things that I did a few years ago, the biggest thing was Gmail, just blowing up my phone nonstop. Yeah. So I turned my notifications off. Yeah. I have my system manager. If there's anything important enough, I jump on and do it straight away. Otherwise, I have a certain amount of time that I go through it every day. Social media, turn all your notifications off.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this, they realize why I don't reply to them for 3 days is because I have all my social media notifications off because it's an immediate distraction. Something pops up, whatever it is, it'll always distract you from that end. And if like you do those two, like the one simple thing is turn off all your notifications, anything super distracting, and then you do something like that. If you're struggling with productivity, do what Avi just said.
Mate,
and,
I've even turned off my phone call notifications.
Yeah, really?
Because my phone's always in front of me.
Yeah.
If I see it, I'll answer it.
You'll be blowing up, man.
If I'm talking to someone, I won't pick it up, right? So I've turned off all the notifications.
How many businesses do you have in total?
I think 9.
Yeah.
9. It's hard to classify what's separate, what's not.
Yeah,
but
what's in
it's
the
about
conjoined.
9 or 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. People say, he doesn't even know how much businesses he owns, but you know how it is. He's
Especially if there's offshoots of the same business sort of thing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get you. Dude, that's crazy. And it would, the reason I ask you that question, if I can ask a follow-up question, how many employees across all businesses?
We have 208 employees.
At AKG?
Across 3 countries, I believe. Yeah, across 3 countries and 4 states.
Okay, so 208 employees.
As of 3 p.m. probably yesterday.
So maybe there's a couple more.
Well, it's just some of my staff have ability to hire without coming to me.
Okay.
So, if they hired someone today, I don't know.
But I think that's great leadership. If you've got the right team that hire appropriately for it as well.
Yeah, mate, I think we don't want to become a bureaucracy like a state government where you have to get 3-4 approval processes going through. That's death for leaders. So they've got the ability to make decisions. And I like it that way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you love being a business owner?
Mate, I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. This is what I want to do more of it. But the thing I'm trying to do now is to do it with more people.
Yeah.
So I think I found the best way of empowering leaders. And if I like the leader, I'll say, hey, let's just do this together.
When you say do it with more people, just to break down that, you mean partnering with others?
Partnering with more people. I think I bring a lot to business, and I think I've found people that bring a lot to the table as well. Mm-hmm. And if they have the same philosophy, they've got the same journey as you, they want to go to the same places. Mm-hmm. I like that, and I'm willing to do more. I was a bit closed off maybe 2-3 years ago. I had one interaction with a business partner that I didn't enjoy, and I got out of it straight away. Okay. But then I'm like, I'm not going to do this with other people. And now I'm like, you know what? This is fun. So many people are driving so many things. They bring so much skills. Yeah. They challenge me in a good way. So it's been really good.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. I think it's funny, hey, because especially when you start, and I'm still the same. I'm still very reluctant to give anything away, sort of thing. But with different businesses sort of coming in now, and different things that I sort of look at, I see the benefit of partnering with people that also know their shit in that space. Now, my big ones that are obviously my core businesses being Australian Property Scout and School of Property and stuff like that. That'll never be anything outside of that. But it's funny because the more that I've looked into it and the more that I've studied extremely successful people that have done extremely well with it, they partner with other people that are great in that. It's almost like hiring the other great people who are in it. But if you've got someone else that's also great in that role and understands it or in that industry, and you can partner with them, and then they've also got a seriously vested interest in seeing its success, it's a no-brainer, right? It's
a no-brainer. And mate, the last 2 partnerships I've done, the buy-in for the other partners have been 0.
Yeah, right.
I'm buying you in. They love it.
Why do you do that?
Because you know what? You're buying their skills. Because at that some point when you built it with them, they've been employees building with you. But it's their baby as well. For me, it's I want to create a bigger pie, not just have a bigger slice of the pie. You can create a bigger pie by giving away more to your people. And they love it. And mate, it's the beautiful thing as a business leader is that when someone in your business feels like it's their baby too, it's beautiful things happen from that.
Yeah, of course.
And then I want to reward that. You know? So there's different businesses that business owners have come in where it's just the buy-in is just them.
Yeah.
And it's not big businesses. It's more startups, first 12 months and sort of things. Yeah. But I think they value that as well. And they feel like it's theirs and I'll reward them for it. So I want to do more of that stuff. It's just, it's really cool for me that other people have carriage of different businesses and I'm just there guiding them.
Yeah.
I'm doing more stuff that's linked to what I'm doing. So I don't go and I hardly open anything that I don't know anything about. It has to be linked. There's only one that I've done that.
You can bring that up. I'm laughing at you.
You can bring that up.
Well, let's bring that up for a second because I think it's a funny pivot into the tattoo shop that you own. Talk to me. Talk to the listeners about that, mate. Give us a rundown onto the decision on that one.
So one of my best mates, he used to run Ray White's in a different state.
Yeah.
He had a couple of years he wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
So he started a role. He was a CEO of a national tattoo franchise. Okay. So he said to me, mate, you got to open this franchise. You got to open this. It's so good. Look at the numbers, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I sent it to my accountant and he said, mate, you're fucking batshit crazy. Because my accountant and I were good mates. Like I tell him he keeps me out of prison, he laughs. But he said, mate, not letting you do this. Okay. This is absolutely stupid. Like, nothing about it.
Why was that his assessment?
Because it was a new business. I had to pay for the whole rebuild, the renos, the lease and everything else.
Franchise fees as well?
Franchise fees. Okay. And he's like, you don't know anything about it. How are you going to recruit tattoo artists? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, mate, you think you're good at recruitment, but this is a total different ballgame. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, nope, not going to let you do it, blah, blah, blah. I called my mate. I was like, mate, my accountant won't let me do it. He's like, what's his problem? I was like, mate, he's just looking out for me. Yeah. He's like, okay, tell him I'll be back. I'm like, okay, cool. So anyway, I think he called me like 2 weeks later. He said, mate, I've got this thing. It's there's something legal going on. We need to settle on this. We need X amount of money to settle on it. Do you want that franchise? I'm like, how much? He gave me the number. I'm like, oh, I'll run it past Chris. I'm like, oh, this seems a bit cheap, right? So I sent it to Chris. Chris called me within like...
This is your accountant?
My accountant, Chris. He called me within 5 minutes, like, do it. I'm like, what? He's like, mate, it's probably worth double of that.
Yeah, right.
Just do it, make it happen. I said, mate, we need to buy by 5 p.m. today. He's like, yep, done. Let's make it happen. So that's why I got in. It was just a really good opportunity at the time.
Okay.
So it's not...
It's opportunistic.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so I buy it, I've doubled my money kind of thing. It ended up not being exactly that, but it worked out.
Yeah.
But what it did was open my mind to different things in life.
Okay.
So, mate, you go there one day, and I don't go as often, but like there's people there that have $220 to spend. They're the happiest people in the world. They just want a quick tat and get out, and it's just the simple things in life that just make people happy. And like hanging out with a tattoo artist, like I've never done that in my life. That was fun. Like I'm never throwing a Christmas party in my house for them because it didn't go too well. But no, they're good people, man. Like, and just learning how different people work. Like I didn't know about needles and ink and how to get a tattoo license. Like I was reading up on this stuff and all of a sudden people calling me about this. I'm like, dude, like I've just started, but
have you got any tats?
No, actually not. They call me clean skin. I don't think that's a thing. But have you?
No, I don't have any either.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But every time I go, they try to get me on the chair. I'm like, no, it's not happening today. But no, I just haven't got around to it. One day maybe.
Yeah.
But the real estate team want them to come to the Christmas party. But our insurance coverage won't cover it. So,
really?
No, it won't.
That's what you tell them anyway.
It's a big no-no, Yeah. But it was a fun thing. It's actually opened my mind to so many different things.
Yeah.
And, it just came about. But would I do again? Probably not. But the learning has been better than the financial reward. But,
So from a financial perspective, wouldn't do it again?
No, because I think putting money in real estate is worth more.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a lot of real estate listeners, but that's probably the return is better.
Yeah.
But the learning wise, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
And the friendships that you gain. Yeah.
Interesting. And I would say as well, like almost, which I see a lot of the time with people who don't hyper-focus, which it sounds like you are more one to hyper-focus. Like you said, this is the one business outside of all the other businesses that complement each other. But like when your focus is taken away from your core business, it drops, right? So
it does drop a little bit. And then you're dragged into stuff. You're like, why am I here? The security cameras are not working, Avi. I'm like, what? We have security cameras? Why do we have security cameras?
Oh man, that's classic. Mate, I love you sharing that little story with us, man. That's cool. Bit of a pivot there. Mate, to move back to the real estate side of things, and this is probably the biggest thing that I'm excited to kind of talk to you about, man. I think peel it back. I said this to you off air as well. Morgs, my partner, was obviously the first one that kind of notified me, I guess, of the way that you do things, how different it was to everyone else in Logan and in Brisbane and anyone that we knew as real estate agents at the time. And she was working out of, funnily enough, actually the LJ Hookers at Beenleigh.
They're still there, yeah.
Yeah, and man, she was working under one of the lead agents there, and man, I remember her saying, because she was just starting to kind of go out and start. She was only 21, I think it was at the time, going out, starting to approach different agencies to kind of move on and look for progression, because they were just holding everyone back, like not trying to give anyone an avenue. And she was like, if I was to stay in Logan, I would love to approach Avi. And I was like, oh, who's this Avi guy? And then she goes, oh, he hires all like the prodigies across Logan, and then like trains them up into animals. And obviously at the time you had a lot of really high quality sales agents there, and they've only gone on to become, great. And so many of them, man, I've been at the REBs for the last 5 years, right? These real estate business awards, and every year there's a swathe of bloody, Ray White Mars and Avi Khan Group, bloody sales agents or property managers or everything that's up there. And it really points to the fact, I think, of how different you are compared to so many principals in terms of, and you touched on this earlier, but not going for these guys that are already shooting big numbers. And so often in real estate, if someone's already shooting big numbers, they're coming in with a huge ego and you got to drop your pants to try and get them in the door and all the rest of it. And sometimes you might do it from a market share perspective or whatever. You can completely destroy a culture at the same time by bringing someone like that in. Now, what we witnessed, a long way around of getting to this point is you just seem to have finessed this great ability of identifying talent young. And it's like, you're almost like a scout, right? We were talking about EPL earlier.
Yeah.
You're like an EPL scout in Brisbane or Logan for the best up and coming agents in that area. What made you go down that avenue? And I was going to say stick with it, but obviously, what made you go down that avenue and then progress these guys so well? You know, how did that work so well for you?
Yeah, look, I think whenever you're selling a product, and I was selling me, I was the product, right? So what's your value proposition? What's your point of difference to everyone? Okay. So I was thinking about it, I was sitting there, I'm like, shit, I have runs on the board as an agent, but not as a business owner, not as a leader, not as a principal. How am I going to go and approach all these people that are writing 600K a year, 1 million a year? Like, I just didn't know how to do that, right? And I was like fearful of rejection a bit as well. And I thought, I don't want to go in early and what are they going to say? And because I've been competing with them on the listing table, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm like, oh shit, okay. My point of difference became, I was like, you know what? I actually want to stop selling. If I get good people, I'm going to stop selling.
Okay.
So I said to them, I'm like, you guys are all like in businesses where you're competing with your principal.
Yeah.
You cannot win against your principal unless your principal is like someone like you is feeding everyone, helping maintain, grow them. I'm like, when you come to me, you drive around my area, drive around the next 2 suburbs, you won't see me in a single bus stop. It's going to be you. If you compete against me, there's no way you're going to win. Because you know what?
Everyone wants the top dog.
Yeah, everyone wants the top dog. Everyone wants to do with the boss. All the leads come into my email and I'm going to take it myself. And there's 2 or 3 principals in my area that do that. No disrespect to them. They have a very good business as well, but it's a different way of doing things, right? And I'm like, I want to be, my point of difference is I'm going to be the training center for Brisbane, not even Logan, for Brisbane. Okay. I want people to know that if they come to Avi, come to Ray White Marsden at the time, that he's going to train you. And I realized very quickly that through talking to other people, most principals believe that they can train their staff. You can't.
Yeah, right.
You need multiple voices. And probably your business, you'll find the same, like you'll say something and someone else will come say something, oh my God, I've got a great idea, you know? So I knew that I had to get the best trainers in the industry to come in and start training my people.
Okay.
So I was taking weekly sales meetings. At that stage, we were doing weekly stock runs. Like we all drove together to look at new houses that we got on the market. I was doing sessions for all the associates. And then what I did, I started bringing in the number 1 performers across the networks, different networks.
Interesting.
So the Remax guy came in.
Why would they come in and train your guys?
Because I had really good relationships with people. Like over the last 2 years, I kind of build really good relationships. Like, so if someone beat me to a listing, I won't go and harass them. I'm like, hey mate, oh fuck, you got me at this one. I'll get you the next one, you know? If someone won an award, I would send them a message, congratulate them. I was going to be the guy that I wanted to know what they were doing. I want to be understanding what made them successful. I would just call random people and ask them. Like if it's McGrath, Harcourts, I didn't care. Like we're all the same people. Like I think there's so much competition, bad competition in our industry that it kind of made me sick. So I'm like my first principal told me, why are you talking to that Ray White guy? I'm like, why not? You know, we're not going to kill each other. So, mate, I think a lot of people like that approach that I was just like, hey, can you come train my team? I mean, I'm probably not as good as you, but I can come train your team as well if you want. So, mate, we had like so many, every month there was training session.
Yeah.
The number 1 performer from another brand was in the business.
Interesting.
1 hour, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. Like if I couldn't get them on in person, they came online.
Yeah.
So a lot of the other agents started to take notice in the industry. And my agents started to say, oh, I just picked up this from this person. I just picked up this from this person. And then I would train what I thought was great. So training has to be a team sort of aspect.
Interesting.
It can't be just from the leader. So I realized that very quickly. So I wanted to be the training center. That's why I think we were talking off air is like, can this person that I'm trying to recruit, can they be a sponge? Can they try to learn? Can they open their minds? or they're going to be stuck in their old ways,
Yep.
Can this person actually work hard? Or they're going to be that, no disrespect for the 9 to 5 people, you can't be 9 to 5 in real estate.
You can't be, man.
So do they have the mentality that, okay, I'm going to work till 7 o'clock to do a listing, or I'll go door knock with my principal at 7:30 in the morning, or can they be that kind of person?
How do you vet that though? Because you know what it's like. You sit across from someone and they can tell you a great story. You know what I mean? But like, how do you vet that? Because the amount of people that you've obviously hired, especially associates, like you would have probably hired 10x what I've hired, because our expansion from an actual buyer's agent perspective has probably been most aggressive in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
You've obviously expanded aggressively for the last, 7 years, 5, 6, 7 years as well. Probably sat 10x the meetings of me of that side of things. How do you see through the bullshit? And obviously, occasionally you get it wrong. The more you do it, obviously, the more you can see through it. How do you pick through that and make sure that it is?
Well, firstly, I think you're being very humble, because you've 10x your business every year since I've seen you. But mate,
Appreciate that, mate.
It's you have to go back to okay, you're asking qualifying questions, you're getting a sense of that person, you're getting what they're listing, what they're selling. You can read their ads, you can see if they're doing flyers in the area. But at the end of the day, mate, it comes back to your gut. You got to trust your gut.
Okay.
You're sitting across someone, you got to get the feel that, I can train this guy. Yeah, he's bullshitting, or he genuinely wants it. You can almost see it, right? After a while, you can see it. So I think I made more good calls than bad calls. It's like being an umpire at a baseball match, right? You're calling balls and strikes at the end of the day. The better you get, the better your record is. So you make some wrong calls along the way, but I wasn't afraid of making wrong calls. Yeah. If it didn't work out, I'll tell them it wasn't working out. But most of the people that came in respected what I wanted. Yeah. They were working hard. They respected the way I wanted to do business. They respected the way I wanted to do marketing, social media. And that's why we all took off. Yeah. Together. It was collectively, everyone took off together. Yeah. I don't think we left too many people behind in the business when the business went ballistic. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I love that. I never really thought about that side of things, and because I've always thought about it, and BA space, the buyer's agency space, is a little bit different from the real estate space, where it probably is a little bit more closed off from that. I don't really hear about. I've been actually asked a couple of times, would you go and would you come into the office, sort of thing. But it's been interstate and stuff. I was just like, oh, guys, I'm too busy to fly interstate to do a session or whatever. But I didn't realize how common it is. And I've got a few agent mates that I get on really well with, and I see them on their stories, and people doing the videos, and they share the stories of them in training with other officers. And I've always thought, I was like, why would you get in and share your secrets of what you do? Especially if obviously it's probably not so much competition direct of let's say same suburb, same agents going to head to head. They're not coming into the same offices of each other.
Not as much, yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense, especially the guys from intercity, or from one side of Brisbane coming into your guys, or Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, or whatever coming in. That makes sense from that end. And what I think you said there that I think was really, that I heard this bit and I was like, that makes so much sense in the essence of, you could have 10 agents, 10 associates sitting there in training, right? And then you could have 10 different people come in that train them. And they could all learn, let's say, 4 things each from all 10 of those guys, right? Or 2, 3, 4 things each, sort of thing. But then each of those 10 might learn 1 or 2 different little things from each of the 10 training agents coming in. And man, that different level of exposure, because everyone's personality is different, right?
Right.
And everyone learns different, and everyone's got a different disc profile of how they brought up and how they project themselves as well. And man, it makes so much sense that obviously the training piece from that side of agents that are hyper successful but might be completely different people would rub off in a completely different way to these guys, man. Dude, I love that, man. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, they feed off different energy, don't they? It's always the case. And then a female person might like a female presenter, and vice versa. It could go any way. Yeah. So the more people I had, and the more they have runs on the board, they have done so much. It really worked well for us. Yeah. And I say to some of my Ray White colleagues, Ray White is the number 1 brand in Australia for real estate by far. It's 15% market share. But what are the other 85 doing? How do we find that out? Because they've got gold in whatever they're doing. The number 1 brand is actually independents.
Yeah, right.
Independents have 53% market share.
Interesting.
So that's what I want to know. And my goal is to work like a boutique and a big brand at the moment. That's where we're going. Yeah. We want the boutique feel, the family brand, the family feel. We don't want to be too big that we forget about people. Yeah. But we want to use all the power and strength of the big brand to propel us as well. Yes. So what are the other 85 doing? That's been my quest for a while now.
Interesting. I love that, man. And even the realization around the fact that 53% of all brands out there these days are independents, right? Yeah. And not franchise businesses. There's so much potential around that, hey?
There's so much potential. And some of these independents are so good at what they do.
Yep. Yeah, and so many of them are being absolutely killing it lately as well. Eh?
100%.
Like some of these big brands that are coming out absolutely dominating.
Like you look at the Gold Coast, you look at Melbourne, like the independents, the boutiques are doing so well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ray Whites are doing well too. Like we're still dominating, but like you got to realize that these people have come brand new with new energy, new ideas.
There's things to take from that, for sure.
100%,
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I love that, man. Dude, the next thing I want to move into is, and that hiring piece, I really appreciate you sharing that piece because I've always been so curious of it with yourself because you've just dominated it for so long. You just see this AKG for year after year, all these crazy talent coming through.
Thank you, mate.
Dominating suburb by suburb, mate. So that's a massive congratulations to yourself, mate, on a job well done. The next piece that I would really love to understand that comes alongside that. Now, obviously, you can start one office and build, great success in one office. Well, not everyone can, but certain people can. But then taking that to 5 offices or 6 offices, you sold one of them. You obviously got that to a decent point to be able to sell it as well. But the 5 offices you've got now, scaling to the 5 offices. You've also got a massive PM division, property management division as well. But scaling to the 5 offices plus the property management division. How did you do that and it not implode?
So scaling is a very, very difficult thing to do, especially with the growth that we had, how quick it happened.
Yeah.
We've made lots of mistakes along the way and lots of things we got right as well. One thing we quickly realized, it might not answer your question, but one of the major learnings that we had from our study tours is that you go to these offices, they're like 4 or 5 offices, there's 3 offices, they're like a group, right?
Yep.
And there's always like a couple of poorer cousins. There's one poor cousin office. This office is not performing.
Yep.
This one's not performing, and it's
of the multi-brands. So like, let's say there's another 5 that's not AKG.
Yeah.
1 or 2 of them are struggling, and the other 3
performing and struggling.
Okay.
So what I said to the leadership team, like, I don't want a poorer cousin. So what we've done strategically, each office has a hub for something.
Yep.
So for example, I'll give you an example of my Brookwood office now. It's got the hub for my media team. Okay. All the videographers, the photographers, the creative is all done from there. The Daisy Hill office is my hub for my property management team in a way. So most of my property management functions are done there. So the agents feel special that work there. Oh, the PM's here. Marsden's pretty much the hub for the sales admin and everything else. So
it's an OG sales.
Yeah,
right?
So everything's sort of like the hubs. There's no like little poor cousins. Everyone.
What are the other 2?
The other 2 are adjacent to those businesses. Okay. So there's one that's operating virtually at the moment.
Okay.
We're trying to find a location for that. That's going more in a city.
Yep.
I've probably revealed things to people that didn't know, but that's going more in a city.
Okay.
So now that will be a different hub. That will be the hub for the training.
Okay.
I haven't told the team yet, but all the training center and stuff functions we want to build in there.
I love that.
So everything will be a lot different. So, but then the most crucial thing is people can't scale because people are not willing to give up their roles.
Yeah.
So what we do is like, okay, how can I make 25% of my role redundant? Doesn't mean no one else is doing it. Who can I pass it on to? So my goal has been over the past 7 years is like every day I do less of what I used to do yesterday. So for example, property manager is a great example. Like I would pretty much felt like I was the growth person for PM in the first year. Yeah. I was sitting there with my head of PM. We were signing up Form 6s, everyone. Now I don't do that. Like every day I do less and less firefighting. Someone else is doing that. So we have to build, to scale, you have to build a really deep layer of leadership bench that are taking on roles that someone else is letting go. Because if you do the same roles every day, you can't scale.
Yeah.
People have this inherent feeling that if I'm letting go, then my job will be gone. But you got to make them understand, no, it's actually, I value you so much that I want to make half your role redundant. So if the leader can get that through to the other people, the other leaders in the business, that's the best way to scale, is because you're freeing people up for that growth.
Yeah.
And I've consistently done that with my team. Like, hey, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And some people haven't been able to take that on and they're not in my business anymore. But the people that have been taking it on, okay, cool, Avi, I'll let that go.
Yeah.
These are the ones firing, making more money than anyone else and doing everything that they can.
I love that, man. I love that. So each little hub is each office obviously carries a level of vibe that comes through it as well, because it is the hub for whichever part it is too. Man, that's cool. I like that. That. What about culture and retaining the culture and not having the culture? And I understand, excuse me, the hub side of things, like you're saying there, obviously retains the vibe in each place. Yeah. But then how do you retain the OG Marsden Avi vibe that obviously came out of that to then stretch to all the others and not, they're probably all going to get their slight nuances.
Yeah.
But retain the same, I guess, moral compass of the way that you always operated on, with things, and doing the absolute best job for your sellers as well, and that's just staying ingrained in the whole team across the whole organization.
Yeah, look, this is something that we spoke about in length with our leadership team. Probably 3 years ago, we bought 2 businesses.
Okay.
Now, those 2 businesses came with about 28 people, I would say, 25 to 28 people.
Ray Whites?
Ray Whites.
Okay.
They're both Ray Whites, probably 25, I would say. But we were so scared because one had a really bad culture.
Okay.
One had an okay culture. Like, how the hell do we make this happen?
Broom?
Sorry?
Broom? You put the broom through it?
Yeah, mate, we did. We did. It sounds stupid, but the first thing I did in the new office, it was pretty dark, right? So I went and I instructed the receptionist to get rid of all the blinds.
Yeah.
She complained. She's like, why would I get rid of the blinds? Like, the sun comes out at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll come 4 o'clock tomorrow and we'll check it out. I came 4 o'clock, the blinds were down, and there's 3 other offices next door to us. The blinds were all up.
Yeah.
So there was a statement from me it's fresh leadership. I know it's a little thing, but then we got rid of that receptionist for that reason.
Interesting.
So it's little things
She's
like
immediately questioned you on something, not just taking your lead.
We need to send a signal, right? Send a message that it's not going to work. So what I said to all the staff that we inherited, like, this is the way we do things. Please tell us what we can do from your point of view to make that better. If you think there's something better that you're doing, let us know. But this is what we want to implement. Yeah. But if you think that this stuff that you're doing better, please relay to the team leaders and stuff. Yeah. We found that in the first 6 months, our culture wasn't good. Okay. Because it was like clashes, the changes,
that transition.
There's a saying, if you're going to operate on people, put them to sleep first. And we probably didn't put enough people to sleep. Right. So
what a way to put it.
Yeah. So it took a while. But in that process, we actually realized that so many of those people were amazing people. And I think only 4 or 5 of them left as a result. So most of them stayed.
Out of 28?
Out of 25.
Okay. So 5 of them left.
Yeah, 5 of them left. Okay. And the 2 business owners retired. Okay. So the business owners we kept for the first 6 months. And they were pretty good. They didn't want to interfere and stuff. But that was the hardest thing, to retain the culture. Because what I say proudly is that the culture is led by the team, not by me. Yeah. It has to be organic. The team have built it over time. So one of the things that we did very well, especially in the first 2 years, now I don't do as much, but anyone we hired, especially agents, we told the team, hey, I'm hiring agent X. What do you think of her? No, I wouldn't work with her and blah, blah, blah. If everyone said similar things, I wouldn't hire that person. But if there's 1 or 2 outliers, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give her a go because we got to prove to her that our culture will be good for her. Yeah. So we've hired people and made them better in our culture. Okay. But it has to be from the team, right? But when you grow so fast, there's a danger that it won't occur. Yeah. Like it will just go all over the place. So it's happened to us a few times. So mate, we've pegged back. What we're trying to do is every 3 months is an event for the whole team. Okay. So for example, December, we did a property management event where we invited all the property managers and their kids. We did a girls' night at a winery. We did a boys' night at my house. Yeah. Then we did a whole team event at the Kingston Park Raceway. Then we did a whole team event at a darts place. We were all playing darts. So every 3 months there's something for the team. So it's a boys event, girls event, or a whole event, or PM event, or sales event. So we do a lot of these different things, and we do a lot of trips for the top performers. Okay. So we've taken our top performers like study tours to Sydney, and it's a study tour, but we have fun at night as well. Dinners, meet guests. We've taken them to Rockhampton. We've taken them to New Zealand. We've sent some of the team to Bali. We've been to, I think, Melbourne a few times. Sydney, we've been like 20 times. Yeah. We're in Sydney like every month for something. So it builds the culture. People get to know each other. Yeah. So we are big on team events. And I have this saying, and we were talking prior to coming on air, is that the team actually fire people before I get there. So that's the culture telling me that this person won't work in our culture. That's what happened to one of our best performers. The team actually said to me, we don't want to work with that person. So sometimes the leader doesn't know, the team knows before you. Yeah. If the team knows before you, then that's the best culture you have, in my opinion. Yeah. If the team knows and they've weeded something out that they're not happy with it, then I know that the culture is working, because they have to be protective of it. Yes, for sure. We can't have this person in the business. We can't have this person coming into the business, or this person in the business not working out. So I'm very proud of what we have. It can get better always, but It's hard when you get new people coming in.
Yeah, it's all, and I think the size of the business and how big you guys are, 200 plus staff. Like there's always going to be some teething issues. There's going to be some things across the board and a few personality clashes, right? You can't have 200 people, across 5 offices and all the rest of it, and not have issues.
Yeah, it takes a lot of different characters to make a company of our size.
Yeah. Man, I'm curious as well, when you said there was a few times where you've had fires that have come up from that side culturally as well. Is that kind of an example of what you just went through there and you've just had to take a couple of steps back sometimes to then take multiple forward?
Yeah, look, it's hard sometimes. You sit there, you have to analyze things, you have to take your time to make big calls sometimes. And then sometimes you make those calls and you realize, like, I should have made it earlier. That was one of the things I went through. As a leader, there's multiple things that you have to factor in. But as an employee, you don't have to factor in as much.
Of course.
But I learned a huge lesson. I should have gone a lot earlier on that one. Okay. I should have listened to the team a lot earlier.
Pull the trigger on moving it on.
But when you get things wrong as a leader, like there was a mea culpa moment for me. I went to the team and saying, I should have listened earlier. I'm sorry. And it's resonated with them, because the performance has gone up. Everyone else is performing better. Like when you take a bad egg away, everyone else sort of rises to the top. And it's not a reflection of that person as much. It's also a reflection of the leader that allowed it to happen. So you have to have a hand on heart moment saying, hey, guys, my leadership also failed in this instant. So I did that with the team. Like I could have done this better. And there's always things you could do better. So there's always those moments.
Yeah, 100%, man. No, I like that, dude. It's funny you saying that. It's making me reflect on a few things and events that have happened with what we've done as well. And you, man, the thing, I think one of the biggest things you've said here is kind of like if you want to go through a scaling piece and especially an aggressive scaling piece, you're going to have issues, you're going to have fires and things that you need to put out from that front. And sometimes, a lot of the time it comes from direct demand, right? The demand is there for the product and you try and do it. But so often, especially if you're bringing in a significant amount of people, you have some things there that you'll clash with that you need to figure out and go from there. And mistakes will be made. But then, to double down on the other piece that you went into there too, there's that very, very old saying that one bad apple will spoil the bag, whatever, however it goes with that thing. Yeah. And it's funny when you can take that out. And we've had moments like that as well where, and I hesitated because sometimes it was one or two and you kind of hesitate. But then once it gets cut away, and even then for a month, it might be still a bit, it's going through its regrowth period. And then things, the blinds go back up and the sun comes back out and then things pick up pace and clear again. It's a funny thing, man. And sometimes it's actually, I wouldn't say sometimes, I'd say almost every time it's the best for both parties, right? Like they get to have their piece of growth and move on, do what they probably have been hankering to do for a while. And the business takes its natural course and, it's like a tree, man. You cut off the dead branches and it grows bigger and better. So that's cool, man. I like that. Anything else you want to throw in on that?
No, I just think that, we're as business leaders sometimes fearful of making the big calls. And that's not a bad thing. It just means you care.
Yeah.
And if your team are telling you stuff, it's not a bad thing. It just means they care.
Yeah.
So that's what I figured out at the end is like, the care factor was crazy.
Yeah.
So when there's a crazy care factor, you should be proud that people want to be in their business, people want to grow it, and people want to belong to something. Yeah. So that's what I took out of it.
For sure, man. For sure. I love that, mate. Flowing on from that, another big thing I've always noticed with yourself and your team and everything, you always have super high retention for a long period of time as well. To kind of, I hope you don't mind me digging on this side of things. I know obviously the person you were talking about before, to be completely honest, man, I actually was surprised that individual stayed at AKG for as long as they did, considering the performance that had been there for a long time too. Obviously things were pretty good, or like you did extremely well as a leader to retain someone of that ability for so long as well. Plus all the others that are obviously all suburb experts. Yeah. But we always have anomalies, right? You and I were actually talking about the anomaly that I have within our business as well. But man, across the board, when you look at retention, like how do you manage that and how do you ensure that is maintained, or managed as closely as possible? Because I know in real estate, it's one of the biggest things from a sales agent side. You see so often there's so much churn, right, of egos moving around and doing their thing and getting offered this, that, and everything everywhere else, or going starting their own offices and all the rest of it. But especially like your suburb, your suburb status leaders and all the rest of sort of thing. How do you retain all that and stop them getting poached elsewhere with slightly better offers? Yeah,
look, I think at the end of the day, like I come back to the statement that people leave leaders for leaders, right?
Yeah.
So we sit down and sometimes like, oh, she left for comm, or he left for marketing, or he got a better area, or he got associate. It's all BS. They leaving you because of you. Okay. Like if you're good, they're not going to leave you.
Yep.
Right. So my search has been, how can I be that good? And by being good, which means that you're actually growing them financially, you're growing them in terms of, like, I've got an agent at the moment. She makes great money, but she doesn't want to grow anymore financially. She wants to grow with time with her friends and family.
Okay.
So you got to understand what their growth is.
Yep.
So as a leader, they're leaving you if you're not doing those things. So they're leaving the leaders. Like, people come to me all the time saying, hey, I've got 10% more. I just want to let you know, I'm not going to ask you for more. I'm like, okay, great.
Can I ask you something on that? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you said something that's actually really prudent. So you've got a lady who's obviously doing, a girl's doing extremely well. So you've realized you've got to get to a point where you stop pushing her to try and do better and do more, because she's happy with what she makes.
She's very happy,
but she wants to double down on the lifestyle piece, or like having a good lifestyle involved at the same time as making the money she's making. Sure. So you've taken a foot off the gas of trying to ride her harder, which most owners need to do to keep people kind of moving and performing at their best. And most people who are high performers perform better with not so much breathing down their neck, but that little bit of pressure, continued pressure. So you've taken the foot off the gas on that individual?
Yeah, I had to re-examine my theories, because I always go around saying to people, mate, if you don't grow, you're dying, you know? Yeah. You know how we say that as business.
Man, 100%.
You got to grow, you got to grow, you got to grow.
Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah.
So I took her aside and said, okay, let's list everything you do, everything your associates do, and seeing what we can take from your swim lane to their swim lane. Yeah. And that's simple things have now given her maybe 4 or 5 hours a week extra.
Wow.
And now she's actually making more money. It's so weird, right? She's making more money, and now she's hiring people to call for her as well. And now it's taking away so much more for her. So it's just this thing when you scale, right? You take away so many of these stupid things that you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Give it to other people who are actually better at it. And I think she's up by about 11% this year, or 12%, 11 to 12%.
And she's got more time back.
She's got more time back. She didn't want to grow.
Yeah.
It's funny how that stuff works. But sometimes as a leader, you have to say, okay, do my growth wishes for that team align with theirs? And retention is not just, it's a team sport. Yeah. So that's, as they're leaving me as a leader, but it's for me to make sure that they get everything they want in my business. And if they're not getting it, I can explain to them why. So, you know, their marketing, for example, if they list something, the marketing is in the inbox the next day. We're so immediate. No one else can manage that. The videos are done. The photos are done. You know, they want to speak to a customer service person why they lost the listing. That's done. The Form 6 is service level agreement. All the contracts are going out the same day. That's done. So all these things, if I don't do that, it breaks down. So this is why agents actually leave. Yeah. So for me, it's like an agent. And the other thing is, like, we pay all our people the same. Yeah. In sales, everyone's on the same. So they can sit around and say, what's that agent on? What's that agent on? Some agents get paid more because they're doing more. Yeah. You want more? Do what they do and they get that. So they love that. Yeah. So there's no competition in terms of, hey, I want this salary, I want that salary, I want this commission. But no one has that in my business. Okay. So they can concentrate on what matters. Okay.
Not be worried about what's happening behind closed doors.
No, it's all transparent in my business. Okay. You know? They can go and talk to each other about commission. I don't care. Yeah. But in other businesses, you're not allowed to. The principal calls you. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You pay for? I'm like, guys, feel free. It's all transparent.
Interesting. Man, that's cool. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, sorry, I've got these things percolating in my head from what you've spoken about there. Because like I said to you, I've noticed the retention rate so high for yourself for so long as well. And it makes sense then. It sounds like you run a clean ship. It's an even playing field across the board. And people are rewarded for what they're rewarded for. And then, if you can sit down and help them implement, optimize, improve as well, that's where it sounds like it's a win-win ride for everyone.
Yeah, I think a lot of business owners sort of get caught up in this question of who their client is. Is it the buyer, the seller, or is it the agent? Yeah. And I'm just like, guys, like, why do we have to like distinguish who the client is? Our client is everyone. Yeah. We have to come up with a way that we service the buyers and sellers and our agents at the same time. Yeah. And they love it. And, you know, like the other thing that agents struggle with everywhere else is no one's helping their associates. Yeah. No one's helping their admin. And we do that. We go in. So their associates can book me once a month, like every time. And every Wednesday morning, 8:30, they get me. So they can come, spend time with me. I can train them. Yeah. So
this is one-on-one, or this is as a group?
No, as a group. Okay, associates can do once a month. They can do once a month with me. Okay. But every Wednesday morning they meet me. Okay. And if I'm not there for some reason, I get someone else to come train them. Okay. So what value are we providing our people? Yeah. You know, to grow, to retain their team, because they're busy as well. They can't train. Yeah. You know, they want to, but they can't. They say they do, but they can't.
Yeah. highest dollar productive activities, right?
Exactly.
I love that, man. That's really cool. That's really cool. Mate, to move on to probably like the final piece in terms of what we're going to be chatting about today as well, man. I'd love to know a little bit more on your different ventures and everything you're cooking up. You're a serial entrepreneur, man. Like you've done exceptionally well in the real estate side of things, but you've got many other businesses. Man, talk to me about Sell and Buy Legal, your legal firm as well.
Yeah, that was kind of born out of frustration with conveyancers in the market.
I wondered if that was it when I saw you launch it.
Mate, honestly, like, I mean, there's some really good conveyancers there, no disrespect to them, but some of them just get in the way.
Yep.
Like, I think conveyancers are like NRL referees.
Okay.
If we don't talk about them at the end of the game, it's been a good bloody game, right? So I'm like, we're talking about their conveyancers, they've done this, they've done that.
Yeah.
So the main thing the conveyancers need to do is to understand that the agents make the deal happen. Mm-hmm. And it's the agents that keep the deal together.
Yeah, they just facilitate.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to create. We want to create a company that's designed by agents for agents. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And I just had to find a solicitor that was amazing at what they did and wanted to share in that vision as well. And that's what I did.
Yeah,
and,
sweet.
Mate, it's just grown to a crazy level.
Really?
20% of our probably trade is from AKG.
Wow.
80% of our trade is not AKG.
Wow, really?
So agents are referring in because they know we understand the trade.
Yeah.
Whereas some solicitors, mate, like
they know you're trying to keep a deal together.
100%.
Yeah.
So take this for example. A deal's about to crash. This was November last year.
Yeah.
The solicitor sends an email to both clients, to the other solicitor, to the buyer, everything else. The agent gets the email at the same time as the buyer and the seller. Like, what kind of deal is that? Give agent a head start.
Yeah.
Tell them to talk to them in proper English, you know, like tone them down. It's not a big deal. It'll be fine. It's just a couple of days they need to do something.
Yeah.
But these are the simple things that keep deals together. Yeah. And conveyancers should want that. Like, I don't know why they get in the way, because they should be just able to get in, get out.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's just small trade for them, right?
Yeah.
$1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
So that's why we started it.
It makes sense, man, as well, because like in reality, dude, there's four parties there that all want to keep a deal together, as long as it's happy for everyone. But you got a seller. Oh, sorry, I'm putting a buyer's agent in the mix there as well. But obviously a selling agent, a buyer's agent, a seller, and a buyer, right?
Yeah.
All four of those want a deal to go through if it's amicable for everyone and everyone is happy with how the deal is being progressed. But the conveyance is sort of that outside piece that has no real vested interest because they're getting paid regardless with whichever way it goes because of the work that's been involved. And yeah, man, we actually found it like it's hard, especially when we enter new states. It's good when we've been operating in a state for a while because you find the guys that want to keep a deal together and will work with you around that side of things as well. And not in any sort of like a fugazi way of holding something together they shouldn't hold together, but it's giving everyone the ability and the time to hold something together if it's worth holding together, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, man, like it makes complete sense of having something like that, you know, to be on your side. It makes sense why 80% of your transactions now going through it are from external sources of agents wanting to see that happen as well. So that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Thank you. No, it's been a bit of a passion project, but I think it's getting to a stage where it's like a serious business where we think about where do we go next? I think we're in 4 states now.
Wow. So what states do you guys operate in?
So we're in Queensland, New South Wales, we're in Victoria, and we're in Perth.
Okay, sweet. Okay,
so
cool.
we haven't done the territories yet.
Yeah.
And we haven't done Tasmania yet. It's a bit of a weird place.
Or SA.
Yeah, SA we haven't. Yeah, we've got a partner in SA we can send stuff to.
Okay.
But that's our goal next to get there, yeah.
Okay, sweet, man. And mate, moving on from that, and by the way, mate, massive congrats on the success. It's obviously flying, so big congrats on that front, man. Mate, you've got your conference as well, which I've seen. Obviously, man, we've been following each other for years as well. So I've seen the conference, man. I'd love to dive a little bit more into the one conference.
I think I wanted you to speak, but you were away one year.
Was it last year? I think it was, man.
Yeah. I did a buyer's agent.
Man, I'd love to, if you want me to come
we'll have
on,
you back,
for sure.
Mate, the conference was born out of our sort of frustration with all the competition in the market. Okay. I think real estate became there was too much friction between people, right? Yep. I feel like everyone was fighting. It became like a used car salesman sort of role. And when you look at the trust deficit, like all these surveys that came out, you know, like you had real estate agents, prostitutes, used car salesmen right at the top, like least trusted, right? Like, I'm like, what the hell? But it's because
real estate agents were above bloody prostitutes.
Yeah, maybe. Given what depends what day it was, you know.
We'll use that example. We'll take that snapshot.
That's a good hook. But mate, like it's and I said to a few of my friends who were training their teams and stuff, like, why don't we do something like a little small conference for our teams, right? Like we'll just get everyone in. Like I think it was like 300 of us at one stage. And mate, we just put it up there. We're doing a conference, blah, blah, blah. It's just for our team and stuff. People started reaching out, how do I get a ticket? And I'm like, I didn't think about that, And then I spoke to the other 2 people who were hosting and like, maybe we just invite 50 people, invite our recruits and stuff. I'm like, okay. At the end of the day, I think we invited like 150 people extra that bought tickets. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool, right? And then when I advertised it, all these companies started reaching out, hey, Avi, can I sponsor it? Can I sponsor it? I'm like, you want to sponsor it? It's just an internal conference. Like, no, we'd love to be involved. Wow. And then all of a sudden we've got like 4 or 5 sponsors. I'm like, okay, cool.
Here we go.
We did it at the W Brisbane and we invited, I think there was a place agent, a McGrath agent. There was 3 people from interstate. There was a number 1 railway agent from New South Wales. There was a couple of CEOs from different brands. Yeah. So I think there was only 1 or 2 railway people there. Yeah. Everyone else everyone else is outside.
Hectic.
So we called it like the collaboration was insane, right? So that's what we wanted. Like we wanted the best minds of real estate coming together to teach our teams. And then we sort of ended it. And then one of the business partners at the conference said she can't do it that year. She's busy. So it became 2 of us.
Okay.
I'm like, let's just go big. Like, let's make it big. This is crazy, right? Everyone wants to be involved.
Were you chasing Arik?
I don't think we can ever do Arik because we want to be different to Arik. Okay. It's unique to Arik because Arik is 3 days.
Yeah. Okay.
So, 2 or 3 days, whatever it is now. Yeah. It's a good function. But when you look at movies, for example, I'm digressing, but you get a 3-hour movie now that's 1.5 hours long.
Yeah.
You get a 2-hour movie that's 65 minutes long. People's attention span is gone.
Yeah.
So I said
you don't get your Gladiators or Lord of the Rings anymore. No, right? You don't get your 3-hour epics, bro.
Mate, Gladiator 2 was so short.
I know. Yeah.
I'm like, what? Is it over? So that's my thinking was, why don't we do an action-packed 1-day event?
Yes.
And it's kind of like something different to Arik because we don't want to compete with Arik.
Yep.
Like they've been going for 20 years. They're doing their own thing and they do well. We don't have the funds to do that stuff, right? So the second year I decided, let's go bigger. And the other business partner said, yep, let's do it. Let's do it in the Gold Coast. And we do it in a facility I didn't really like. It was SeaWorld.
Okay. All right.
But mate, I think 500 people could fit in there. We had 650 people come through.
Holy shit.
It was insane. Yeah. And then everyone else wants to sponsor it and
send in the bleachers at the back.
Yeah, literally, mate. Like we had to wait for people to come out so other people could go in.
No way.
And then at the door, I just said to the ladies, just let everyone in. We weren't even scanning tickets or anything. There's people waiting. So it went really well.
Yeah.
I think people resonated with the fact that it's not a brand that's doing it. It's just the one conference. Just the number 1 performers across Australia. The third one went off.
Okay.
We went big and we went to the Star.
Okay.
We were the first people to book the Star in Brisbane.
Yep. In Brisbane? Okay.
Yeah, so we went to the new facility. I think we had 800 people in the room, 200 property managers. And now people want us to host it in Melbourne, Sydney. We probably won't do it because I don't have the time.
Yeah.
But it was.
If you can do it local, man, it makes sense. Yeah.
But we wanted to be a bit different. We wanted to have the number 1 performers. We've had CEOs from 7 different brands speak there, from Ray White to Place to Remax to Lang & Simmons. The agency person was there this year as well. Like everyone's coming. And it's not a sell of a brand.
Yeah.
It's the thing of let's tone down the temperature of the industry. Let's all work together. Let's all get along.
So it's like your associate training with all these different agents that come in. It's kind of like that, but it's a single day event of all these elite agents coming in, training, or like just doing a training session of, instead of not selling a brand, there's a training session on all these different things, right?
Yeah. Mate, 100%. And then what we wanted to do, because the Ariks of the world, the other conference, like $800, $2,000.
Wow. Yeah, right.
We're $199.
Yeah.
And we haven't put our prices up at all.
It's just covering. And man, I run my own summits once a year.
I've seen that one.
Mate, I know that's just covering the event. That's just covering the cost of the event.
The idea is not to make a profit. Yeah. The idea is to spread goodwill in the industry.
Yeah.
The idea is that independents can come learn, other brands can come learn. I think there were 180 to 200 railway people.
Okay.
There were 600 people from independents.
Okay.
So that's what we love.
Man.
Like it's
awesome.
We wanted to give back a little bit.
Yep.
At the same time, it helps us. No doubt it helps us because we want people from Sydney, Melbourne to refer to us as well.
Yep.
Right. But the conference is like, can we tone the temperature down? Can we stop people from fighting about everything in the industry? And hopefully we do, that's what we did.
No, that's really cool, man. I love that, dude. I love that, man. Honestly, hats off to you as well, because I know what it's like putting those things together for one. And then it's funny, man. Like sometimes you're so unsure of the the draw card that'll get, you know what I mean? Like how much attention it'll get. But to have, man, 800 in a room, that's wild, man. That's crazy. So massive congratulations.
No,
man.
thanks. I think I was just got a great team that run it.
Yeah.
And their vision is there, the execution is there, and then everyone just buys into it. So it's been really good.
I love it, mate. Yeah. I love it. Well, mate, the name's there. If you ever want to just let me know, mate, and I'll keep it free for the next one.
Yeah. Noted.
Good, man. How good. Mate, also flowing on from that, and I know this is a very similar thing as well, but your podcast, Call Me Successful. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, look, the Call Me Successful podcast, we wanted to share stories about successful people. It's almost like starts off exactly how you started with me.
Okay.
It's like, what's your journey been like?
Yeah.
We hope that people can listen to it and take some stories out of it and actually know the person on the other side and know their journey and try to replicate something about it, right?
Yeah.
So we've had CEOs, we've had people opening businesses, we've had established agents, we've had agents just getting started, we've had competitors come in, we've had head of domain come in. So it's been really cool just having different conversations with people.
Yeah.
What we want to do, the idea of the podcast is we want our agents to become comfortable to do that too.
Yeah.
We want people from the local area that are experts in flooding, or we want the local mayor to come in. We want all these things to happen that we can be the source of knowledge in our area.
Okay.
And we also want to be the source of knowledge for real estate agents as well.
Okay.
There's so many people that do it well. We're small, but we want to be a little bit different.
Okay.
You know, and our podcasts are like 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
So we've got this thing that will bring people in, bring them out. Let's go with this story and go look them up.
Okay.
And we'll share it and we'll tag them.
Yeah.
So it's been actually quite fun.
Yeah,
to
that's
do
cool.
it.
You enjoy doing them?
Oh, mate, I love it so much. I didn't like it at the start, but the more I talk to the guests, the
Why
more
didn't
I
you
get
like it?
Look, my thing is that I want my staff, my agents, my team to be on camera more than me.
Yeah.
So that's been my philosophy from the start, and that's why our business has worked. You drive around bus stops, you see my agents, right? You go on our Instagram, you see my agents, you see my team.
Yeah.
So I've never been one that I have to be in the front.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
So
you.
I'm doing it with my head of growth, so that helps as well.
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of comfortable with it. And I think it helps the agents get more comfortable as well in front of camera. So it's been good.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
That's
fun.
cool. No, I like it, man. Well, dude, congrats on all the success so far.
you.
My friend, I've got a couple of final questions I want to finish off
Go
with.
for it.
One of the big ones I just wanted to ask, I was jotting this down before as you were in flight of something else, and something you said around fires, right? And putting out fires. And it's funny, man. I was on Boris last week on The Mentored, and I was chatting with him, man, and he went straight into, for the last 15 minutes of the podcast, we were talking about putting out fires. Yeah. And it just got me like thinking so much and like talking with other people who run big businesses. And obviously like he's grown ridiculous things, right? Mark Boris. And it was funny his approach and take on putting out fires. And he called himself a bush firefighter. Like that's literally what he sees his job as.
He's Tony Abbott.
Yeah, man, seriously. He's just putting out fires, man. And seriously. And man, my question to you comes down to the size of the team, the amount of businesses that you've got. What do you do when big fires pop up and you have to do like what's your process around dealing with even small fires, let's say spot fires, and dealing with the big bush fires?
So you know when you said that about Mark, I actually value the people in my team so much more if they put their hand up. So there's people in my team that love it. Yep. And that shows me that
they love what in particular?
They love putting out fires.
Okay.
I
love that responsibility.
Yeah. So we've got this like inner belief that this is a chance for you to show me your wares. Like show it to me. What have you got? Right. And some people get really excited about it, right? I'll fix it. Don't worry. Leave it to me. Like you need those people in your team that like, let me run towards it. Yep. Like this is what my chance to show you how good I am.
Yep.
So my approach has been when people say, oh my God, what am I going to do? This. I'm like, what do you recommend? Most of the times the team, the leaders know the answer.
Yep.
So my job is like, my firefighting head is like, I'm trying to get it out of them and I'm trying to encourage them to go do it
Empowering
first.
them.
Yes.
Yep.
So they don't even know that I asked them that question. Like, what would you recommend? It's the most empowering question as a leader.
Yep.
So that's what I've tried to do every day that goes by. I'm doing less and less firefighting because the first thing you need to do as the main leader is to build other leaders to do that.
Yep.
And you have to get them excited to do that. You know, like when sometimes the agents get a call saying, hey, mate, I want to list my property. They get nervous, right? The new ones. I'm like, I want to get you to a place where when that call comes in, you're like, oh my God, I got that call. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped, you know? Yeah. So can you get to that place where you actually love problems? You run to the problem, say, I'm the guy that is going to fix it. So that's been my mentality for a few years now. like I'm trying to build the mindset that they are the ones fighting fires.
Yeah.
But mate, it's a lot of these things are just how it's translated. The little subtleties that you can fix things so easily.
Yeah.
There's no problems that you can't fix if you just talk to the person.
Yeah.
There's very little that you can't fix.
It's the biggest thing, right? Sometimes it's picking up the phone, having a good, honest conversation. And if something's been, stuffed up, it's putting your hand up and going, yeah, man, like we stuffed up on that thing and take responsibility for it. And then how can we fix this thing for you? How can we change it? And yeah, man, that's really cool. Really cool.
The bigger you get, the more mistakes you're going to make.
Yeah, of course.
And I said that to the team all the time. Just wear it. Just say, Avi, I screwed up, and we'll walk with you the whole way. The thing that it's like, the problem in businesses across the board is that the email culture, the text culture.
Yeah.
So we've got a big sign in our property management team saying we are too busy to email. So
pick up the phone.
So if they send an email about something, I look at the thread. I'm like, guys, why didn't you pick up the phone here? Oh, the investor doesn't want to talk to me. They're too busy. Like, that's what we used to get.
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, can you say to that person, hey, mate, it's just Avi calling from Ray White.
Yep.
You've got a maintenance request here of $1,200. I've sent it to you. I've tried to call you a few times. My concern is if we don't action it today or within the next 2-3 days, in a couple of weeks' time, this will cost you $3,600. Can you please give me a call back? You'll call back, right? So it's just the way that you actually talk to people.
Yeah.
And you can't say that in an email.
No, and an email is construed, like you have 100 different people that read that email, they'll take it 100 different ways because 100%. Everyone reads an email in a tone of voice that's completely different from everyone else, right?
Completely different, yeah. So firefighting comes from just having the conversation. And mate, as a leader, I value those people that run towards it. I love that.
Yeah.
Leave it to me. I'm like, great, go show me what you got.
I love that, mate. Who's your chief firefighter? Call him out.
Probably my CEO of property management.
Okay.
She'll solve any issue.
Yeah?
She'll just go in and solve anything.
That's unreal.
Yeah, anything from leaking taps. Why is this leaking? Like, why is it costing us money to who gets the car? And who do we hire? And everything. Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yep.
But I've got like 4 or 5 agents that will fix anything.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. Dude, I think one of the really cool things there from a leadership perspective is obviously empowering your people to take action and do their thing as well, man. I think that's awesome because when you empower them to do it, they go through growth, right? And so often, like the thing that you're shit scared of, you do it once and you're like, you do it and you're like, oh, it wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
You know what I mean? And then it happens again and you might be not quite as nervous but still nervous and then you do it again. You're like, hang on, it's not that bad. And then it starts to build that resilience, right? And it's like the things that would have stressed you out in 2018, you wouldn't even bat an eyelid at it today. You know what I mean? You do it with your eyes closed. And I think like the more that you can, mate, it's a great way to put it because the more that you can empower your people to do that side of things as well, but even putting it onto them in ways in terms of them answering it themselves without even realizing that they're providing the solution to fix the problem anyway and kind of eliminating so much of that pressure out of it too. So I love that, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, they know more than you most of the times.
Yep.
And you should know that as a leader.
Yeah.
And just get it out of them. So that's been fun.
Yeah, I love that, mate. I love that, man. What's the best piece of advice that you ever got from a coach or a mentor?
The best piece of advice I got, he's not a coach or a mentor, but he helped me a lot. The story goes, so I went to see this guy. He does very well in Canberra.
Yep.
And I think I had about 800 property managements back then.
Okay.
So this is probably about 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he asked me, he's like, so you've got 800 managements. How many people? I'm like, about 680 to 690 people, Some have multiple properties like yourself.
Yeah.
And he goes, so what do you owe the bank? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, how'd you buy these? Like, what do you owe the bank? I'm like, mate, I don't owe the bank anything. And he said to me,
they're organically generated.
Yeah, organically.
Yeah.
Pretty much said to me, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, mate, it's like you have 6 or 7 houses paid off and you don't want to buy more houses. It's simple clarity, but I just didn't have that because I was so scared of debt back then. Like I have debt on properties and stuff, but I was so scared of debt on business that everything was like my cash is going out. Like I didn't want any debt. I didn't want to fail.
And so he's telling you to buy rent rolls.
He's telling me to just go buy rent roll, buy properties from the rent roll and everything. Mate, I came back and I was in so much debt that year. I'm like, let's go buy this. Let's go buy this. I think my Macquarie guy who I lend with, he said, mate, you just need to slow down. So now we have the 50-50 ratio on everything. Okay. So anything I own in terms of commercial and property management, like the best advice I got was get into good debt, not bad debt, get into good debt. And I think
reap that leverage return.
Yeah. Sometimes it's simplistic stuff that you actually miss, right? Because you're so ingrained in the moment, you're so ingrained in doing the business stuff that you actually don't have the bigger picture. And mate, if I didn't go down to Canberra for this trip and to have a drink with this guy, I probably would have been like just sitting there with all this equity with doing nothing.
Yeah.
In the
lazy equity. Doing nothing. Yeah.
And mate, a lot of people do have that.
For sure.
Because they don't have that risk that you and I probably have, that let's just go do it, But yeah, I was doing it in the resi, but the business side, I was like, nah, not going to touch it. But that's the best advice I had, was go get good debt. And I just went crazy. And, sometimes people have to tell me off now. It's just like, you can't buy this. I'm like,
take it easy.
I'm okay. What about next month?
I sometimes get the rain pulled up and I'm like, hey, exactly. I was like, well, you better get everything in order because I'm coming back next month.
Yeah, exactly. You got to manifest, right? And I'm going to go do this. But
That's it, man. That's it. Mate, final 2 questions for you. All the best real estate agents you've seen and worked with, and yourself as well, what have you seen as the number one character trait of all of the top 1% real estate agents you've worked with?
It's so simple, mate. Like it's the old adage, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay. Mate, the best ones have empathy, the best ones listen. The best ones have self-awareness of where they are and who the client is, and they let the client talk, let the client tell them their issues, understand what the client wants. You can't do that if you talk over them. So most of the agents nowadays, when they're coming through, they're like, how can I just show them everything I've got? Like, just shut up and listen to them. So the best agents are the ones with the empathy, ability to listen.
Okay.
Easy.
Every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The next piece beyond that as well, the best business owners you've ever been around. What do you think is the number one character trait of the top 1% business owners that you've had dealings with, dealt with, watched, spoken to?
The best business leaders realize that they have carriage of someone else's journey as well, not theirs, only theirs. They have carriage of your employee's journey, a buyer's journey, your seller's journey. It's someone else's journey. You're there to help. What I said to one of my agents a few years ago, I said to her that you've got a nice car, you drive a nice Range or BMW, whatever it is, you go on 2-3 holidays a year, like you wear this expensive clothes and watches. Everybody wants that. Lead your team to that level as well. It's not just financial gain, but like that's what manly people want. They were there for their family, right? So the best business leaders realize that it's not only their journey, it's someone else's. And you have to bring people along. You can't leave anyone behind. You know what they say in the military, leave no man behind.
Yeah, of course.
It's the same thing in business. Like the best ones that I hang out with that teach me the right things, they're the ones, everyone's growing in the team. It's not just the business owner. Otherwise, what's the point of them being there? That's why retention is crucial. Like you got to make them grow.
So the key to that final piece you're saying there as well is making sure you're carrying everyone with you as well. Everyone that's on the journey, make sure that they're growing alongside as well, and they're even like taking their goals into account, right? And making sure they've got that ability to grow into it, or they can see that pathway, and then in essence that that keeps the retention so strong for you as well.
Yeah.
Because churn's the biggest thing that burns a business, right? Like if you have churn, especially in something like that, and you've got a producer, it's going to be the biggest cost that you're going to cop, eh?
Yeah, training costs, advertising costs, recruitment costs, headspace, and all the hassle that goes from firing people or hiring people. Like, it's just so much. Why do you want to do this? Like if I come into your business and I ask you people, what does your leader want? What are they going to say? Like they have to know what you want and you have to know what they want. So if you get that piece right, like, you're going to have a lot of people stay with you.
Yeah, I love it. Avi Khan, mate, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me. And hopefully we can have you on ours as well.
Mate, let us know when you want me to come up, mate. Let's get up. Let's do it. And mate, absolute pleasure having you in the studio with me, man. Thank you so much. Listeners, I hope you took some great value out of today's episode. If you did, please send it on to someone else you think could also take some great value, some lessons and some learnings from today's episode with big Avi Khan, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. Listeners, if you also enjoyed the episode, please give us that 5-star review on your favorite listening platform. And if you haven't, hit that follow or subscribe button. Also jump on there, hit the follow, subscribe button on your favorite listening platform. And until next week, guys, that's another Top 1% podcast.